Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video I thought it would be fun to share with you what I ended up doing with these cheapy knockoff Vulture Gunship things that I got from TEMU a little while back. I did do a separate video on that and I'll put a link to that in the video description in case you are interested. A couple of things really. I don't like the landing gear stands at the back. That helps to make the thing sit nicely on a flat surface because it's not really weighted very well. So I kind of figured that I needed to get rid of them because they look awful, and I want to put a counterweight in the cockpit section. And I just grabbed a couple of these heavy bolt nuts here and decided to use those. Now at this stage I wasn't quite sure how much weight I would need in the front to actually do the job. But you'll see that I kind of figure that out as I go a little bit later on. So I detached the cockpit section because it's fixed in with clips on this model, and then drill out a hole. Now, a lot of you who do 3D printing may be kind of unsurprised here when I say that the inside of this is kind of like honeycombed. So you do have to go a little bit careful when you drill in that you don't punch straight through the cockpit. But I hollowed out a good hole there and stuck the bolt in. And while I was at it, I ripped off these landing gear legs at the back because I glued those into place on this particular model, so I had to rip them back off. And then I did a bit of a test, but it wasn't enough weight. So what I did was kind of shoved the bolt to one side in there because it's kind of hollow and honeycombed, as I said, and then stuffed another bolt nut up inside. So there's two up in there, and I just shoved a load of super glue in to kind of hold them in place so they wouldn't rattle around, and then came in with some hot glue over the top of that, which of course itself carries a little bit of weight, so that's adding a little bit more counterbalance to the front as well, which is no harm, is it? Once I filled that in with hot glue, I stuck the landing gear back in place, and once that dries, that will really hold that in nice and firmly as well, and it's not very brittle hot glue, so it will do a good job of securing that landing gear. Once I fiddled around and got the landing gear nice and straight, I moved on to the idea of doing something with the weapons under the wings. Now, this is a very cheap model. It comes with molded on detail. There's no weapon options. You just get these missiles here. I decided that I wanted to do something a bit different, so I sawed the end of the larger missiles off using a little hobby saw to create a nice flat surface on the end. And then I came in and got rid of all the fins of the missile as well with some hobby snips and a little bit of knife work. I'm basically going to make a couple of Punisher cannons here, and I want the missile, or the larger of the two missiles, to be the main body of that cannon. It's not perfect, guys. It's not a great solution, but it's an efficient one. So I trim all that down and grab a couple of Punisher cannons from the Lehman Russ kit, and I get rid of the connector on the end to create a nice flat surface, and that means that will be pretty much exactly the right size to glue on to the end of that missile that I've just tidied up, and that's my two Punisher cannons. Now I also get rid of the smaller missiles because I just think they look a bit too close to the mechanism there to really look plausible, and then I come in and trim all that down and tidy up before hot gluing the Punisher cannons on the end of those missile bodies. Now they're a little bit inboard for my liking. They should be a bit further set out, if you know what I mean, but you know, it was a simple solution to the problem. I then cut up some old Lehman Russ tracks to act as ammunition feeds, and I glued them into that funny slot that actually is supposed to hold the landing gear at the back. So it's nice to utilize that, really. And I know this is a bit far back for the ammunition feed. I get it. It's not very realistic, but guys, it's 40k. Give me a break. So there you go. That's that one. And I was really happy with that solution. I actually tidied up a little bit more and used these ladders from the Torox kit just to, you know, blend in those ammunition feeds into the rest of the weapon there. So yeah, really happy with how those ones turned out. Simple solution. Painting was a bit haphazard, guys, because I was struggling to find the colour that I really wanted. I wanted to emulate the Fleet Air Arm Royal Navy colour scheme from the kind of like 60s and 70s. These are joining my Praetorian forces, so that's why I'm going for that. So I ended up using a kind of like a blue grey colour on top and a white colour underneath, because I wanted to kind of copy that colour scheme, but I really wasn't happy with the blue grey on top. So I actually changed that a couple of times, as you'll see. But I just go ahead and fill in some details. You can see here, this is one of the other colours I chose, which is Cantor blue, but that ended up being too blue, if that makes sense. But you can see I'm using a ruler here to kind of create that kind of white section underneath, so it's white underneath and blue on top, and I really like that contrast as well. But it isn't the final color, guys. Just stand by and wait for that. Now, in the meantime, I was thinking about one of the other models. I got 3 of these all together, and I used these rocket pods that I broke off of another model from Station Forge that I did on the channel a while back that I don't really use. These are really nice. They remind me of the kind of Hind helicopter rocket pods, so I used those on the underneath of the wings on another model. Now you can see here my final color was actually Dark Reaper, which is a beautiful color, and I put that over Mechanica Standard Grey as a base coat, and that ended up being my chosen color. I was really happy in the end with that. You can see here with the blue one, I'm just going over that with the Dark Reaper. It's exactly the color I was after. It just took me a while to get there, guys. Now for transfers, I'm using these horrible things. These are quite thick, actually, a very thick transfers. They didn't turn out quite the way I wanted, but I really couldn't find a sensible alternative for kind of the roundel that I wanted on the wings. So I ended up kind of using these. They ended up looking like stickers rather than transfers, but I did my best and it was okay. Now for the final Vulture, I used these. These are from the Krieg artillery kit. They're kind of the multiple rocket launch system. So I got a couple of these from a parts retail supplier, and I glued them underneath the wings basically to act as like a heavier grade multiple rocket system underneath the wings. And I think they ended up looking really good. If you've enjoyed the content, guys, please consider liking and sharing. It really helps my little channel to grow and develop. And if you are not already subscribed, please do consider giving us a sub. I'm going to put these on a rotating platform for you to have a proper look at. Please let me know what you think. I'm really happy with the end results and the color selection, but if you've got any thoughts, do let me know, and catch you in another video soon. Take care.